The Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman's book Thinking, Fast and Slow is a fascinating look at the mind, especially the mental processes that drive our choices. Even though the book isn't a standard story with a plot and characters, it is a fascinating look at how our minds have two different ways of thinking: System 1, which is fast, intuitive, and automatic, and System 2, which is slow, deliberate, and analytical. At the beginning, Kahneman tells us about System 1, which is the part of our mind that works quickly and naturally, most of the time without our control or effort. It's the part that makes you jump when you see a snake or gives you an instant answer to easy questions like what's 2 plus 2? System 1 is usually driven by feelings and instincts, and it often puts together a story from bits and pieces of information. Even though this method works well, it can lead to cognitive biases and mistakes. System 2, on the other hand, needs deliberate thought and mental work. Think of it as the method you'd use to solve a hard math problem, make a wise choice, or judge a complex argument. It's more reasonable and analytical, but it's also slower and takes more energy. Kahneman says that biases and mistakes creep into the way we make decisions when System 2 is lazy and lets System 1 take over. Kahneman uses a lot of studies and examples to show how the two systems work together and sometimes clash. One of these is the invisible gorilla experiment, which shows inattentional blindness. People who watch a movie of people playing basketball and counting passes often don't notice a person in a gorilla suit walking across the scene. This shows how our attention, which is controlled by System 2, can be so focused that we miss events that are completely unrelated but clear, while System 1, which works quickly and instinctively, can miss such things. Next, Kahneman talks about heuristics, which are quick ways for System 1 to make choices. Heuristics are often helpful, but they can also lead to systemic mistakes. The book talks about different heuristics, like the availability heuristic, in which people judge how likely something is based on how easily they can think of an example. This can lead to bias and bad decisions. In the rest of the book, Kahneman talks about prospect theory, which he and the late Amos Tversky came up with together. This theory, which won Kahneman the Nobel Prize, shows that people make decisions based on what they could lose or win, not on what will happen in the end. He says that people are loss-averse, which means that they fear losses more than they value gains. This is a very important idea in economics and business, for example. In the last parts of the book, Kahneman talks about overconfidence and hindsight bias. People always think they know more than they do. This is called overconfidence. Hindsight bias makes things look more predictable after they've happened. This often leads to oversimplified answers and the illusion of understanding. Both can make it hard to think clearly and make good decisions. In the last parts, Kahneman talks about the difference between experienced well-being and remembered well-being. He does this to challenge the idea that people are good at figuring out what makes them happy. He shows this with the peak end rule and the duration neglect, which show that people's memories of an event are mostly made up of the most intense and least intense parts, not the whole thing. At the end of Thinking, Fast and Slow, the author urges readers to learn about these cognitive biases and figure out when they might affect our choices. Kahneman says that we can't completely get rid of these biases, but that being aware of them can help us use System 2 more successfully to make up for System 1's mistakes. The book is a powerful look at the dual process model of the brain, and it tells us a lot about how we think and decide what to do. By knowing how our minds work, we can try to think more clearly, make better decisions, and, in the end, learn more about ourselves and the world around us.